All right, cool, let's get started. Hey, what's up guys? It's Jordan Anderson, welcome to the show. We're gonna talk about how to get your clients' priorities straight, and that is gonna encompass 4 things: marketing, revenue, delight, and efficiency. Okay, let's get started. This exercise is usually done on the second day of strategy, and it takes about you're gonna need about 90 minutes to do this, and I would include a break. So the exercise sheet looks kind of like this. They call this core prioritization or goals prioritization. I've had the toughest time saying that, especially on camera, or even like saying that to client, core prioritization. I haven't found that to be the most effective way to describe this. When I've said this to clients, I say, hey, we're gonna do some core prioritization and figure out what you need to do with your business. It does not make sense to them, and I'm barely clinging on to the definition. So I just call this goals and priorities. That it makes sense to me, it makes sense to them. Let's just call it goals and priorities to keep it simple. You as the facilitator of this strategy session, you really have to be strict about the time limits on this. This sheet, we're going to go through each module of the sheet, but each section of it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes. And I want you to have a timer, whether it's on a phone, whether it's some fancy gadget or a kitchen timer. You got to set it for 5 minutes, and you got to be really strict about this. If you let things go over 5 minutes, if you let it kind of drag into 10, 15 minutes for each section, it's going to get way too long. It's going to get people are just going to lose momentum. They're going to lose energy. And you as a facilitator, we've got no one to blame but you, because you were running this whole show. Okay, so before we kind of dive into this exercise, let's kind of go over these 4 sheets, like what they could look like. So the first one is revenue. We're really just thinking about revenue streams for your client, or maybe you're doing your own brand exercise for your own business. The next sheet that we can go over is awareness and marketing. These are any kind of marketing ideas, and this does not have to be just digital marketing. I'm talking website, flyers, any idea that you can think of, billboards, a freaking blimp that goes over, a football stadium. Yeah, so awareness, any kind of marketing idea. And when you're going through these ideas, let it be crazy, let it be zany, whatever kind of marketing idea that you think could work, just put it on the list. The third section is delight, and that is, how can you add delight to your client's experience? I mean, it's easy to think of like luxury brands, or think of like Ritz-Carlton, like when you become a client of theirs, how do they treat you? What are the touch points that you're kind of going through, and how, is it they're giving you you're going to think of all these ideas: a concierge call, a handwritten letter, they find out your favorite drink and they kind of get it for you. How can you do that in your business? If a client is signed up on your website, what are you doing with your emails? What are you doing with your auto-response? Or how easy is it for the client to book a session with you? How nice and experienced and delightful can you make this experience? Is it? The fourth one is efficiency. And this is a little bit more tailored towards looking internally with your own business, but it obviously has some, effects on your clients. So this efficiency is, how do you create a business that is as efficient as possible for you, so that you're not wasting time doing things that are either tedious, repetitive, or arduous, where you could be spending more time doing things that are more valuable to the business. So that these are things like, again, like autoresponders on emails. These are things like Calendly, appointment scheduler. So instead of trying to go back and forth on emails, you just set up and say, hey, let's do, just go to this Calendly and click on the calendar and click on the time that you want to book with me, and we got it already set up. And there's, how do you kind of keep it hands off? So now that we've got those 4 modules kind of figured out, let's actually go through these exercises and try to figure out what are some good ideas for revenue, what are some good ideas for marketing, what are some good ideas for delight, and what are some good ideas for efficiency. This whole thing of core prioritization, goals and priorities, this is not about coming up with the end-all, be-all, best list, top 10 list of ideas. This is not about finding the one idea. This is really just about getting ideas fast out on paper, getting some momentum going, and saying, hey, look, it wasn't that hard to actually come up with some ideas. These are the ideas that are actually doable. These are what we can achieve now. In day 1 of the strategy, you've kind of laid out your brand attributes, you've laid out your customer profiles. So day 2 is kind of say, we've got that groundwork laid down, we've got that foundation. Let's actually put some actionable steps next to it. And the first column I want you to focus on is ideas. That's simple. It's going to be a list of ideas. So for this part of the exercise, let's start with revenue, because as a small business, revenue is everything. So if you're working with your small business clients, you probably want to tackle revenue first. Okay, so in this column, we're going to go through revenue ideas and say, all right, let's list out as many ideas as we can in 5 minutes of revenue ideas. Don't think about editing. Don't think about contradicting people or trying to one-up anybody. Just come up with ideas, put them on say, yep, this sounds cool. Yep, write them down. Just don't worry about if it's a good idea or a bad idea. We're going to figure that part out later. So get all the ideas out. 5 minutes are up. Now let's move on to the next column. The next column is desirability. And I talked about this in the podcast a little bit. Desirability is how badly do you want to do this? Is this something that you or your team is excited to do? Or is this something that maybe it's a good idea, but you just don't want to, it's kind of gross or it's kind of icky. You're going to rank this 1 through 10. Okay? 1 through 10, 10 being the most desirable, I can't wait to do this. 1 being, I do not want to do this. Okay, the next column is ease, or how easy is this? This is going to be this has to do with a little bit of friction with the idea, or friction with implementing the idea. 1 through 4, rank it, how easy is it to do this? Is this something that is kind of a layup? How it's framed, it's a little bit strange, but 1 is the hardest, 4 is the easiest. So think of it like that. Let's move on to the next. And remember, each of these columns should take about 5 minutes. You're going to go through each idea and say, okay, online courses, how easy is this to do? 1 through 4. Okay, services, how easy is it? And then you just go through it, 1 through 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. The next column is time. How much time does this take to do? If it's something like, say, for example, an online course, as a revenue stream, how much time is going into that? If you're trying to monetize something, or or you're trying to write a book, how much time does that take? 4 being not a lot of time, and 1 being a lot of time. So next column is budget, and that's 1 through 4. How much budget are you willing to allocate to this? 1 through 4, 4 being it's very low cost, very budget friendly, and 1 being this is going to be super expensive. This is really out of our budget range. This is, you're asking us to build a $50,000 new website. I don't know if that idea is in our budget. That's going to be a 1. But it's say, hey, it's a blog post. It's something we can write, tomorrow. That's pretty simple. That doesn't cost that much money. It's free. That's going to be a 4. So you've gone through all this. So we've got the column, the idea column, desirability, ease, time, and budget. This is what I'm saying, that you have to really be strict about taking 5 minutes at a time or less with these ideas, because this is just the first sheet. This is just revenue. Now we have to go on to awareness and delight and efficiency. So you really want to be strict about how much time you're taking with this. It's if it's 5 minutes, cool, let's move on. We've got to go. We got a lot to cover today. Before we add up the totals, there's one more section that you have to do, and that's terms. So how much time is this going to take? And this is not time in terms of, how much time does it take to actually do this? This is how much time would it take to build this or implement this, time to implement. So short term, medium term, long term. Short term, I'm going to categorize short term as anything less than 30 days. If it's, say again, going with an online course, because that's just an example that's in my mind. An online course, how much time would that take to build? 30 days, less than 30 days? Writing a blog post, is that something that could take 30 days, less than 30 days? Okay, medium term is going to be anywhere between 30 and 60 days, and long term is going to be anything over 60 days, maybe 90 days, maybe months. So I'm losing my light here. Okay. Now this is where the magic happens. So we're going to go over each column I did. I'm looking down here at this sheet here. You're going to look at desirability, and then you're just going to add them up across the board. Just do a little arithmetic. Desirability, ease, time, budget. The maximum number that any idea can get is 22. So I want to say anything above a 16, above a 17. Let's start to look at that now. Maybe you can highlight it, maybe you can circle it, maybe you can maybe you're doing this digitally and you want to kind of isolate it or sort it. I want you to sort all of them or highlight all the ideas that are above a 16, above a 17, and let's kind of get those together. Now that you have those ideas that are all 16s and above, 17s and above, I want you then to go over to the term sheet, and then I want you to select the short-term ideas. So if this is something that has scored really high, maybe it's a 20, maybe it's a 21, and then you look over and it's a short-term idea, that's the idea that you want to go with. That is something that is clearly it's desirable, it's easy to do, there's low cost to put into it, and then in order to build it or get it implemented, it's going to take less than 30 days. This is what I'm talking about, where this is about, it's not about finding the best idea, it's finding the most actionable, easy to do, tangible idea. That's something that, hey, we can do this tomorrow, we can do this next week. This is something that we can do within the next 30 days. This exercise is a really powerful launch point. This is really something that's going to get the momentum going for you and your clients to figure out what it is that they need to do, kind of add some real tangible action steps to it. My name is Jordan Anderson. I want to thank you guys for watching. Maybe this video went a little bit long, but I hope it was helpful. And if you've made it this far into the video, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode.